Hello and a very good morning to all of you and welcome to Daily Current Affairs. On Grade Up IAS YouTube channel, my name is Kumar Pratik and I welcome you all for Daily Current Affairs, which I take up every morning from Tuesday to Saturday at 9 p.m. on Grade Up IAS YouTube channel. So please do not forget to subscribe, like and share this channel. Now, let's start with Daily Current Affairs for today. The first topic for today is India to launch a deep sea mission to explore mineral, energy and marine diversity. Before I talk about this topic, let's understand that the Earth's surface, 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered by water. And water, that is sea and oceans, are stores of many important things which human being needs, from minerals to fish to energy. We need all that, and all that is provided to us by the ocean. So to harness the potential of water resources, India is launching a deep sea mission to explore minerals, energy and marine diversity, so that underwater world could be explored and harnessed, which remains unexplored. So in this, a deep sea water mission will be launched, where the objective of this mission would be to boost the efforts of India to explore EEZ zones. What are EEZ zones? EEZ zones are zones where countries are allowed to harness economic potential of marine boundaries. So 200 nautical miles from its coast, from any country's coast, is EEZ zones, where exclusive economic exploitment of ocean resources can be carried out by an individual country. So because India has more than 7,500 kilometers of coast, so India has a vast EEZ zone and continental shelf which is unexplored. So this objective of this deep sea mission is to explore that and utilize and harness India's continental shelf and EEZ zones. The mission also is to evolve developing technologies of different deep ocean initiatives. The main aspect of the mission will be to design, develop and demonstrate of human submersibles. Another aspect is exploring possibility of deep sea mining and developing necessary technology. Now, what are the institutions involved in this for carrying out such a big mission? This project is piloted by Ministry of Earth Sciences and other government departments such as DRDO, Department of Biotechnology, ISRO, CSIR are the other stakeholders in this mission. Now, in September 2016, India signed 15-year contract with the International Seabed Authority, which gives permission for deep ocean water mineral explorations. So International Seabed Authority gave India 15-year contracts for exploration of polymetallic sulfides in Indian oceans. We'll talk about polymetallic sulfides as well. This 15-year contract formalized India's exclusive right for exploration of polymetallic sulfides in the allotted area in the Indian Ocean region. Earlier also, Indian International Seabed Authority approved 10,000 square kilometer for India with 15-year polymetallic sulfide exploration plan along the Central Asia in Indian Ocean Ridge and Southwest Indian Ocean Ridge region in the Indian Ocean region. Now, what are these polymetallic modules? These are globules of metals which accumulate on the seabed. They contain iron, copper, zinc, silver, gold, platinum and other minerals in variable quantity, and they are formed due to precipitation of hot fluid which is coming out of oceanic earth crust, and it forms globules or polymetallic sulfide nodules. So these polymetallic sulfide nodules in ocean ridges are attracted worldwide attention for a long-term commercial as well as strategic value. Moving on. What is International Seabed Authority? It is an international organization established under 1982 United Nations Convention of Seas, that is UNCLOS, and the 1994 agreement related to implementation of Part 11 of UNCLOS. So, International Seabed Authority is an organization through which state parties of UNCLOS organize and control all mineral resources related activities in the areas of benefit of mankind. International Seabed Authority has the mandate to ensure effective protection of marine environment from harmful effects that may arise from deep sea bed related activities. Moving on, it is headquarters in Kingston, Jamaica, and came into existence on 16th November 1994 upon entry into force of UNCLOS. International Seabed Authority became fully operational as an autonomous international organization in June 1996 when it took over the premises and facilities in Kingston, Jamaica. Previously, the facilities were used by United Nations Kingston Office for Laws of Seas. Now, who are the members of this organization? International Seabed Authority in May 2020 had 168 members, including 167 member states, countries, and European Union. India is also a party to International Seabed Authority. This is international organization, GS paper 2, the source is the Hindu newspaper. Now, this was about deep sea mission. Now, let's move on to India becomes fourth nation to get International Maritime Organization's nod for its navigation system. As you know, India has been launching its regional navigation system called NAVIX, or Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, that is IRNSS, which has been recognized recently by International Maritime Organization, and India is only the fourth country to own its own regional navigation system. Other countries to own the navigation system are US, Russia and China. For example, US has the GPS, Global Positioning System, then Russia has GLONASS, and India has now NAVIC. Moving on, Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System was designed to provide accurate position information services to assist the navigation of ships in Indian Ocean waters. It is like US owned GPS or Russia owned GLONASS, as I told you. This will enable merchant vessels to use NAVIX for obtaining position information similar to GPS and GLONASS to assist navigation of ships in the ocean waters within the covered area of 50° north latitude, 55° east longitude, 5° south latitude and 110° east longitude. So, this area you can see on your screen can be covered by IRNSS. Moving on, let's talk about International Maritime Organization. It is a United Nations specialized agency with the responsibility for safety and security of shipping and prevention of marine and atmospheric pollution by ships. It was established by means of convention adopted under the aegis of United Nations in Geneva on 17th March 1948, and it met for the first time in 1959 January. It works to support United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, that is 14, which talks about life below waters and deals with conservation and sustainable use of ocean, seas and maritime natural resources for sustainable development. The main role of this organization is to create a regulatory framework for shipping industry that is fair and effective, universally adopted and universally implemented. International Maritime Organization is not responsible for enforcing its policies. There is no enforcement mechanism to implement the policies of International Maritime Organization. It is just self-acceptance by member state. Currently, it has 174 members and 3 associate members. The 3 associate members of International Maritime Organization are Faroes Island, Hong Kong and Macau. Now, India and International Maritime Organization, what is the relationship? India joined International Maritime Organization in 1959 when it met for the first time. International Maritime Organization currently lists India as among the 10 states with the largest interest in international seaborne trade. Recently, India acceded Hong Kong International Convention for Safe and Environmentally Sound Recycling of Ships, known as Hong Kong Convention, which will help in providing boost to ship recycling industry in India. This topic is Science and Technology, GS paper 3. The source is the Indian Express. Moving on to the third topic, Micro Irrigation Fund. NABARD has so far released total amount 1754.60 crore interest subvented loans to Micro Irrigation Fund. Now, what is this Micro Irrigation Fund? Micro Irrigation Fund is a corpus of 5,000 crore created by NABARD, which has been operational since 2019-20. The objective of this fund is to felicitate the states in availing an interest subvented loan for expanding coverage of micro irrigation by taking up special and innovative projects, and also incentivizing micro irrigation beyond the provisions available under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, per drop more crop, to encourage farmers to install micro irrigation system. Micro irrigation systems are drip irrigation, strip irrigation. These are micro irrigation systems. So let's talk about now Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. The motto of this scheme is per drop more crop. So the scheme was launched by Department of Agriculture and Cooperation, Ministry of Agriculture in January 2006 as a centrally sponsored scheme for micro irrigation. In June 2010, it was scaled up to National Mission on Micro Irrigation, which continued till the year 2013 and 14. Then, Government of India has been implementing many centrally sponsored schemes on micro irrigation. From 1st April 2014, National Mission on Micro Irrigation was subsumed under the National Mission of Sustainable Agriculture and was implemented as on-farm water management scheme during the financial year 2014 and 15. The micro irrigation component of on-farm water management scheme has been subsumed under the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana from April 2015. So Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana is a centrally sponsored scheme launched in 2015. It is formulated by amalgamation of all the ongoing irrigation schemes which were being implemented by central government in India. Schemes such as Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program, which was run by Ministry of Water Resource, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation, Integrated Watershed Management Program, which was run by Department of Land Resource and Ministry of Rural Development, On-Farm Water Management Scheme, which was being run by Department of Agriculture and Cooperation. Then the objective of this scheme, what is the objective? It is amalgamating all the scheme which was already being run. So the objective of this scheme is convergence of investment in irrigation at the field level, to expand cultivable land under assured irrigation, har khet ko pani, to improve on-farm water efficiency by reduction in water wasted through micro irrigation, to enhance adoption of precision irrigation and other water saving technology, that is more crop per drop, to enhance recharge of aquifers and to introduce sustainable water conservation practices by exploring the feasibility and reusing treated municipal based water for peri-urban agriculture and attract greater private investment into precision irrigation, that is drip and strip or micro irrigation. This can be a part of governance as well as agriculture economy. So this topic is GS paper 2 as well as paper 3. The source is Press Information Bureau. Next topic for today is Ananda Atmanirbhar Agent, new business digital app. Life Insurance Corporation of India, that is LIC, has launched digital application Ananda Ananda it's an acronym. It refers to Atmanirbhar Agent New Business Digital Application. What is the benefit? Ananda will enable an agent to complete a policy even without physically meeting a customer during this COVID pandemic time. It will help to facilitate and process proposal of completion, which will be totally paperless and completely digital. The process of new business completion has been re-engineered by converting the physical format into a digital one. So no physical meeting is required, only digital meeting is possible. The application has evoked tremendous response from all the intermediaries of the LIC. Now let's talk about Life Insurance Corporation of India. It is the fully owned company of central government. It is governed by Life Insurance Corporation Act 1956. Every LIC policy is guaranteed by the government of India because the owner of LIC is government of India. It has the highest market share in the life insurance segment in India. LIC policy holders enjoy a sovereign guarantee under section 37 of the Life Insurance Corporation Act 1956 and on the sum assured and this bonus declared. Large part of LIC investment is in equities, bond market and government denominated instruments. LIC now also holds 51% stakes in IDBI. Thus, LIC is the only insurance company in India to own a bank. LIC is also the biggest institutional investor in Indian equity market. Government has used LIC on many occasions to stabilize the market. For example, for offer of sale of ONGC in 2010, LIC came in and bailed ONGC out. This is GS paper 3 economics. The source is the Hindu newspaper. Now let's talk about another topic, which is the Booker Prize. Scottish writer Douglas Stewart has recently won the 2020 Booker Prize for fiction with his debut novel Shuggie Banes. The Shuggie Bain is an autobiographical novel set in Glasgow in 1980s. It follows the life struggle of Shuggie, an impoverished boy struggling to look after his single mother Agnes, an alcoholic, even as he grapples with his own sexuality. Now let's talk about Booker Prize. The Booker Prize for fiction, formerly known as the Booker McConnell Prize, and the Man Booker Prize is the literary prize. It was established in 1969. The objective of this prize is to promote finest in fiction by rewarding the best novel of the year written in English. Who is eligible? Booker Prize awardee any novel originally written in English and published in UK and Ireland in the year of the prize regardless of the nationality of their author. Novel must be an original work in English, not a translation. It must be published by a registered UK or Irish imprint. Self-published novels are not eligible. Organization involved in presenting the Booker Prize are Booker Prize Foundation, which is a registered charity established in 2002. It has been responsible for award of Man Booker Prize for Fiction and for Man Booker Prize International Prize since its inauguration in 2005. Booker Prize 2019 was jointly given to Margaret Atwood and Berendine Everisto in 2019. This is GS Paper 1 Art and Culture. The source is the Hindu newspaper. The next topic now is Rory Domicus Phyllostratidis. Recently, Rory Decimus Phyllostratidis, a new mushroom species discovered in the forests of Meghalaya, which glows bright green. This Rory Decimus Phyllostratidis is named, the new species is named Rory Decimus Phyllostratidis, was first sighted on the wet August night near the stream in Meghalaya Myeonong in East Khasi district, and later at Karan Suri in West Jayantia Hill district. It is now among the 97 known species of bioluminescent fungi in the world. What is the significance? The new species was important because it was the first mushroom in Rhoridimus genus to be found in India. However, its uniqueness lay in the fact that it was the only member in its genesis to have light emitting from its stipe or stack. What are bioluminescent fungi? Bioluminescence is the property of a living organism to produce or emit light. Animal, plants, fungi or bacteria show bioluminescence. Bioluminescent organisms are usually found in ocean environment, but they are also found in terrestrial environment like on land. In case of fungi, luminescence comes from enzymes and luciferase. What is the mechanism of this luminescence? The green light emits when luciferin is catalyzed by the enzyme luciferase in presence of oxygen. During the chemical reaction, several unstable intermediate products are released as excess energy that makes them visible as light. What are the benefits? Bioluminescence attract insects which help dispersing spores. It may also be a mechanism for organism to protect itself from frugivorous fruit-eating animals. This is GS paper 3, Science and Technology and Environment. The source is the Indian Express. Now, this was daily current affairs. Now, before I end today's daily current affairs, to help you prepare for your IAS exam preparation, GradeUp Super brings to you IAS 2021, a comprehensive course for GS prelims cum mains. The course is available in English as well as Hindi medium. In this, you get 350 plus live GS classes for prelims and mains examination, 325 plus PDF and 5000 practice questions, additional classes for Yojana Indian Yearbook, Kurukshetra magazine and CSAT, 30 mock tests for prelims, 20 sectional and 10 full length, 12 GS tests for mains, 2 essay tests and 7 previous year paper tests. Now with GradeUp Super, you get 11 plus structured live courses and 50 plus mock tests. Moving on, you will be taught by our expert faculties like Harshmeet sir, who is a polity expert, Rohan Tyagi sir, geography and ecology expert, Naman Jain sir, economics expert, Vasu Katara sir, ethics and internal security expert, B. Teja Sai sir, science and technology expert, Himani Suri, NCRT expert, and Shailendra Singh, NCRT expert. And then there is me. I teach economics and current affairs on GradeUp platform. Apart from all this subscription you get 3 options. There is a 6-month plan, there is a 12-month plan, and there is a 24-month plan. The 6-month plan will cost you 15,000, 12-month 21,600, and 24-month plan will cost you 27,000. Now, apart from this subscription classes, we are conducting daily free classes on our GradeUp app for you guys. We are conducting daily current affairs on 12 p.m. UPSC EPFO Laksh EPFO 2020 at 5 p.m. Special 5 lecture series at 7 p.m. GS for IAS at 8 p.m. This is the IAS 2021 Ranker series, and daily current affairs on our GradeUp app will be conducted every day at 9 p.m. Apart from that, every day we are conducting classes on YouTube as well. Like every morning, I am there on GradeUp IAS YouTube channel taking up daily current affairs for you guys. So with this, I take your leave. I'll see you guys tomorrow again. Till then, tata, bye-bye. Please subscribe, like and share our GradeUp IAS YouTube channel. Thank you very much.